Hello grade 12. I'm now doing task 12.3 with you. Okay, so in task 12.3, we just have to fill in some missing figures on the table. I have set up our basic calculation, which I showed you in task 12.2, which is this table here, which is very important. Excluding VAT, remember, 100%, VAT 15%, and including VAT 115%. In task 12.3.1, 12.3.1 has been done for you. However, I would like you guys to just remove those figures in your workbook and recalculate them, because obviously they were calculated on 14% and we are now going to work with them on 15%. Before we start with this task, there's a really good illustrative example for you to look at, which starts on page 479 going into 480, and it's really a good place for you to learn how to do VAT calculations and how these VAT calculations affect the VAT input and the VAT output accounts. And also, so that will basically help you quite a bit in doing these calculations. And page 481 also has some notes which you can look at. Okay, so before we start with that, okay, this question has two columns here, VAT input and VAT output. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about what is VAT input and what is VAT output. Okay, so VAT input, you must remember, VAT input, okay, is paid on purchases. Okay, and it can be claimed back from SARS. It can be claimed back from SARS. I always think of it like this. Okay, the goods are coming into our business. We pay VAT on it, and then we can claim that VAT back from SARS. Whereas VAT output is the VAT that we charge customers for sales. So this is for goods going out. That's why it's called VAT output, right? We charge customers for sales, and it has to be paid over to SARS. It's very important to know what VAT input and what VAT output are. So basically, at the end of our calculation, we're going to take the VAT output total minus the VAT input total, and that will give us the amount owing to SARS. If the VAT input is greater than the VAT output, then it will be an amount which is receivable from SARS. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so in 12.3.1, we're going to redo it. It says that Helen buys trading stock on credit from suppliers. So when Helen buys trading stock from suppliers, Helen has to pay VAT over to those suppliers. Now the amount of VAT that Helen has to pay, we've got the excluding VAT amount. To calculate the VAT, we're just going to take 30,000 and multiply it by 15%. So that gives us 4,500. The VAT inclusive amount, okay, we're just going to say 30,000 plus 4,500, and that will give us the answer. Okay, now the VAT amount is 4,500. We need to decide whether it's VAT input or VAT output. So if you look at these definitions I gave you, VAT input is paid on purchases and VAT output is charged to customers for sales. So this is definitely purchases because she bought goods on credit from her suppliers. So I'm going to put the 4,500 only in the VAT input column. Okay, then we're going to go on to 12.3.2. Helen sells goods for cash. So excluding VAT amount is 20,000. To calculate the VAT, we're going to say 20,000 multiplied by 15%, okay, which is 3,000. And then we're just going to add 20,000 plus 3,000 to give us obviously 23,000. Okay, the VAT amount, which is 3,000 rand. Okay, this is Helen sells goods for cash, so she had to charge her customers 3,000 rand for these goods. So instead of them paying her 20,000, they paid 23,000. 20,000 belongs to her business as sales, whereas 3,000 belongs to SARS and will have to be paid over to SARS. So we're going to put that in the output column, 3,000. 12.3.3, Helen sells goods on credit. So it's the same thing. It's going to go into that output column. So we're going to work out 24,000 times 15%. Then we're going to say 24,000 plus 3,600, which is 27,600 to get the including VAT amount. And of this, 3,600 belongs to SARS. So it will go into the VAT output column. Okay, remember to get the including VAT amounts, I just added, but you could have done it differently. For example, for 12.3.3, instead of saying 24,000 plus 3,600, we could have just said 24,000 multiplied by the unknown, which is 115, divide by the known, which is 100. And we'll also get 27,600. So remember what I told you, you can use a cross multiplication. If you can add and subtract, you can also do that. Either way, whatever you do, as long as you get the answer right. Okay, so that is 12.3.4. We've been given an including VAT amount. We need to find the VAT and the excluding VAT amount, but let's first see what it's for. So Helen returned stock that she had bought on credit. Now remember, when Helen bought the goods on credit from her suppliers in 12.3.1, we recorded it as VAT input because she could claim the money back from SARS. Now, when she returns the goods, the VAT input will actually decrease because she can't claim that VAT back if she returned the goods. So let's calculate the figures first. Okay, 1824 is including VAT. So if you look at our table here, including VAT represents 115. I want to find excluding VAT. So I'm going to say 1824, okay, multiply by 100, okay, and divide by 115. So I get 1586. Now to get the VAT, you could either subtract, so I'll say 1824 minus 1586 to get 238. Alternatively, I would say 1824 multiplied by 15 divided by 115. That's if you do cross multiplication. And that also gives us 238. So 238 is the VAT portion allocated to the return of goods. Now this was the return of goods. The purchase of goods was in the VAT input column. So I'm going to put this also in the VAT input column, but I'm going to put it in brackets because it was returned. Oh, sorry, with a minus sign in front of it, right? You can do this, or you could have recorded as the opposite of VAT input, which is VAT output. Either way, whatever you're happy with, right? For now, I'm just going to do it as negative input because the purchase was recorded in the input column. We now record the return as a negative in the input column. 12.3.5, Helen buys equipment for the business on credit. Again, we've been given the VAT amount. So we can calculate the inclusive amount or the exclusive amount first. I'm going to calculate the inclusive amount. Now the inclusive amount is 115 and the VAT is 15. So I'm going to say 770 multiplied by 115 divided by 15. This gives me 5903. Then I'm going to say 5903 minus 770 to get 5133. Remember, I could have also said 770 multiplied by 100 divided by 15, and that would have also given me the same answer. 770 is the amount we need to allocate to either VAT input or VAT output. So this was for equipment which she had purchased. So this is on purchases, it is VAT input. So I'm going to put it into the input column, 770. And then 12.3.6, okay, we've been given 168. This time I'm going to calculate the excluding VAT portion. So excluding VAT, if you look at our table here, represents 100. We've been given VAT, which represents 15. So the calculation, 168 multiplied by the unknown 100, divide by the known 15. Okay, so 1120. The inclusive, we can just say 1120 plus 168. Alternatively, you could have said 168 multiplied by 115 over 15. And you get the same answer. 168 is the portion we need to allocate to either VAT input or VAT output. 12.3.6, debtors return goods which they did not order. So when the debtors bought these goods, we recorded it as VAT output. So now, when they return the goods, we can subtract it from the VAT output column. Alternatively, you could put it in the opposite column, which is VAT input. But I'm going to put it as a negative in the VAT output column. So in the output column, minus 168. 12.3.7 is Helen writes of bad debts. Okay, so when she writes off bad debts, remember, the initial sale was recorded as VAT output. So when bad debts are written off, the amount, the VAT portion on the bad debt is not part of VAT output any longer. So we can either put it as a negative under VAT output or else in the opposite column, which is the VAT input column. So first we need to work out the VAT portion, which is the easiest given the excluding. We'll just say 600 times 15%. To get the including, I'm going to say 600 plus 90. You can try the other calculations if you like. The amount of VAT belonging to the bad debt will be negative output. So in the output column, a minus sign. And then 12.3.8, Helen draws trading stock for personal use and we've been given 140. Okay, now trading stock, the goods have left the business. So it is still recorded as VAT output, sorry, for drawings, right? The goods have left the business, so we're going to record it in the output column. So we can already go and put 140 into the output column. We just need to calculate our inclusive amount and our exclusive amount. So I'm going to calculate inclusive first. Remember I've been given VAT, which is 140, so I'm going to say 140 multiplied by 115 divided by 15. So to get 1070. And then all I'll do here is just say 1070 minus 140 to get 933. Alternatively, we could have said 140 multiplied by 100 divided by 15, and you still get 933. Okay, so basically I've already totaled up here. Okay, so basically these totals, this total is for the total of the VAT input column, and this is the total for the VAT output column. So just added and subtracted as we were going along, right? Okay, so if you look at this, the VAT output is greater than the VAT input. So we're going to work out the difference. Okay, output minus input. Okay, so remember this is VAT output minus VAT input. And this tells you that how much is payable or receivable from SARS. Now in this case, the output is greater than the input. Okay, so it's payable to SARS. Payable. Okay, and the reason is because the output is greater than the input. Now if the input was greater than the output, the difference would have been receivable from SARS. Okay, that's all there is for this question. Thank you. Bye.